Hello everyone and welcome and thank you for tuning in to XNET's Market Outlook. Today we're going to be looking at one of the key ideas for trading for this week as well as some of the factors that are driving that. Thank you Stan for joining us today to give us the ideas and your insights.
Thank you Michael for having me today. Thank you everyone.
What then is what you're monitoring mainly this week? What do you think is the key potential position that might be a strong candidate?
All right, let's go to charts. Today on my list is the DAX index, which is a German index. It's European stock index, which might be uncommon for many people, but it's the same index like Nasdaq or S&P 500, which are US-based indices, but this one is European-based. What I was expecting from DAX is a break of the lower boundary of this massive formation, which is usually very wide. You see that it started to form in March 2021. And we have the massive engulfing chart pattern here. Well, this candlestick from yesterday, well, the US market was closed. I mean, it was a President's Day in the United States. However, we see that this formation is quite massive. And we might expect a fair continuation to the downside. You may play this situation with multiple ways. You may anticipate a short pullback or play the momentum trade. However, it's quite difficult to place a tiny stop here. Or you might do that, but you should be prepared that sometimes there are pullbacks and retests of the higher boundary. So it's not recommended to put the very tight stop here. Well, also, why DAX actually? Why not S&P 500? Why not Nasdaq? We've seen this geopolitical escalation yesterday, and Russian President Vladimir Putin had signed a pact of recognizing the so-called states in the East Ukraine, Donetsk and Lugansk, and so some sanctions would follow probably, and that's why we see that European indices were quiet, so they are not moving in anticipation of this the continuation of this scenario. But now we see that probably the scenario goes this way, and we see the break out of the lower boundary of DAX.
Okay, so that's one key factor certainly is geopolitics. Is there any other factors, for example, the effects on commodities that happens as a result of that's also in the narrative for traders of DAX this week?
Sure. So first of all, if we take a look at the CDS chart, the CDS is a credit default swaps chart, which shows the probability of bonds of the country to default. And we see that they have outperformed the previous high for March. So, this situation is quite concerning, and we have some risks from energy prices probably. So from gas prices, particularly oil prices. And with that, we might anticipate the continuation of oil trend and the gas trend, but it might not represent a very good trading opportunity because most of those tensions probably may be priced in. But as for DAX, the opportunity which I've shown recently, so this is a fresh trend, and we want to ride fresh trends as traders because we don't want to be, in the late majority or among laggards in trading. So we want to be among innovators, the early majority when we trade. This is on all headlines of major portals on Bloomberg, on FinanceYahoo.com, so on CNN, so pretty much everywhere. So I guess that we should trade in sync with this information.
And otherwise, apart from geopolitics and commodities, are we also looking at any important economic data this week? For example, from Germany especially, but also from the USA?
Well, sure, we have some news to be released this week. So for example, we have the GDP for United States, February 24. We have GDP for Germany year-to-year basis on Friday to be released. So, and Eurozone consumer confidence. Basically, these are good indicators to follow. Well, specifically, if you hold a position for, let's say, DAX, just as an example, and you see that we have the number released and the price reacts immediately with a sell-off, and that's a confirmation that usually you have a good position because negative sentiment represents itself with a negative reaction on the news, no matter what the number would be. So this is it. So you can monitor for that. It's not super important, but still they have a they have confirmation point for your positions.
All right, thank you, Stan. So, in summary, the key idea that we're looking at this week is possible decline lower for the DAX, which is the main German index of shares. And the key factors that's driving that is geopolitics, of course, with the situation in Ukraine, but also the effects of this on the price of gas and Russian CDS credit default swaps. And this week, data is not super important, but we are still looking at data on sentiment from Germany, and we're looking at German and also American, to some extent, GDP on Friday, Thursday, respectively. Thanks very much, Stan, for joining us, for giving us your ideas.
Thank you, Michael. Good luck, everyone. Have a good trading week ahead.